Trigger warning. This video contains references to themes of suicide which some individuals may find distressing.
What helped me, honestly, was my best friends reaching out to me and pushing away my pride. You know, I'm used to being the strong person in front of people and looking after everyone else to a point where my cup will be empty. And as long as everyone's cups are full, you know, that makes me happy. But deep down, I'm not happy, you know. So being in that vulnerable stage in my life was really hard, and having, you know, people who love and support me, I guess tables were turned. And they came to me and were like, they weren't saying as much, but they were there for me, and that kind of created a little pathway for me to move out of this space that I was in, this dark space.
Kia ora na katoa, and welcome to Let's Get Pre-Sifik, a podcast focused on providing concepts and tools for the kete, or basket of knowledge, in dealing with suicide prevention through a Pacific lens. My name is Wiriamu, or Will, and I'll be guiding us through open, honest, and sometimes confronting talanoa about improving our mental health. Ufitia Sagapolutele, also known as Tia, is an Aotearoa-Samoan creative artist, producer, content creator, and co-founder of Pacific dance collective TULOU. She began her artistic career as a dancer in the world-renowned dance company The Royal Family, and since then has made her name as a choreographer. Ufitia uses her digital platform Taumafa Talks to reflect and share space on mental health and well-being from a Pacific perspective.
So I like to say I'm Aotearoa-Samoan because I was born here in Tāmaki Makaurau. My mother is from Whatuvalu, Safune in Samoa, and my dad is from Salofata, Apia.
Did you grow up with kind of like a predestined path, or was it clear that you could follow your own path? How was that for you growing up?
It's actually interesting because I feel I had a blessing of, you know, both of my parents being very supportive in what I wanted to do. So there's a video clip of me at my first birthday, and I'm, you know, doing a siva for my dad. And I feel that it was destined for me to be in the performing arts from a young age. And I have a lot of family members in the creative arts already. So I was already surrounded by so many different creatives and educators and, you know, people in sports. So yeah, being in a big talented family, it was destiny.
What is the creative arts to you? You know, what is this endeavor to express?
I've always used dance as my outlet to express. I know many artists out there feel the same way, because sometimes it's just hard to articulate how we feel, you know, our emotions and what we're going through on a daily. And so using, you know, dance, for example, for myself, using that as a tool to tell stories and, you know, share how we are feeling on a day-to-day basis. I feel it's in our blood, you know, as Pasifika people, you know, our ancestors, you know, using music and dance as a way to celebrate. So having that tool for myself has been really helpful with my well-being and mental health.
You know, if you're someone who thinks they need to improve mental health or even try to understand their own mental health, I reckon it's tricky.
Yeah.
What does mental health, the word, mean to you, well-being?
I would say, firstly, it's what I've learned over the past few years is being very kind to myself. Not necessarily having it together, but feeling, you know, that I'm okay and I'm happy. And mental health to me is when I'm surrounded by my loved ones and taking, I guess, these ideas of having to be successful, which has been very hard for many years, So I would say my well-being is just being happy and doing well in what I want to do. And just like I mentioned, being kind to myself. That's been something that I've been learning the past year.
Maybe it's our parents or their parents who did the voyage, came to New Zealand, and it feels like options weren't on their side. They just had to, you couldn't take care of yourself because you had to take care of others.
And I feel that generation, it wasn't even a thing to them because they were so busy, you know, migrating here and trying to start a whole different life, you know, for their children and the next generation. So they didn't have time to think about, you know, their mental health. It was more like we just got to work and keep working. And so I feel that there's a lot of young people like myself where we have those difficult conversations, you know, with our elders, you know, that we have these problems or things that we want to talk about, but to them they're like, well, back in my day, we didn't go through that, so you'll be okay, kind of thing. So there's definitely I guess a boundary between different generations. It's just, how do we move that boundary and move forward together, even if we have different perspectives on life?
How come we can't just go to our elders and say, you know, when you ask me to bottle up my feelings, the science says that's not good for me, you know, emotionally. It's like we don't have that way of talking. And I wonder, is there a way that we're doing this in the kind of creative way? Yeah.
Just from my own experience with my own parents. So my father had passed away much earlier. So I was very close to my mother. But I found a boundary would be just different languages. You know, she wasn't very fluent in English. So sometimes if I was trying to articulate something, she just literally couldn't understand what I'm trying to say. And then that's me in my teen years, so I'm getting frustrated and it's just miscommunication. But I found what helped was just taking a step back and, you know, understanding that we're just from two different worlds. But she was very supportive with me, and she always pushed me to do everything that I wanted to do, which was the arts. What helped me was her seeing me be happy in what I was doing. Like, she could see that I loved, you know, dancing and singing and acting, and that made her happy. So seeing myself, you know, fill my soul with the things that I love, to her that was everything. But I understand that not everyone has that privilege. You know, there's so many young people who don't get that support. I was just grateful that she understood where I was coming from, and I was able to continue my creative journey after she passed.
You couldn't rely on what most people take as a privilege, which I can simply talk to you and you can talk to me. You had to find other ways to communicate.
Yeah.
And I don't know if many people think that not being able to communicate would contribute to a negative mindset because you can't articulate yourself.
Exactly, because then you start bottling up, you know, your emotions, and you feel that no one's listening. And then that contributes to mental health in a negative way. So what helped me was I have 4 older brothers and I'm the youngest, only girl. And, you know, there were times when they didn't understand my needs, and I'm vice versa. But communication was a big thing for us, being able to try and just listen. And whether you don't agree, as long as you're listening, that's all that matters to me. But I know there's like even a few friends of mine who they're Tongan, you know, traditional Tongan family, and she's queer, so that's even harder for her. And just up until last year, you know, she was able to be more open. And seeing, you know, other people go through different journeys, it's interesting. Like, I feel like it would be really awesome to have spaces where we're able to just be ourselves, and then that could support us to go back to our families and use those tools, or, you know, to be able to articulate how we're feeling.
Do those exist? Like, what tools are we talking about? Because I guess people are watching it and they're agreeing. Yeah, we need that.
Yeah.
You know, and also we've had people in this space to talk which they knew their parents loved them. It was just the way it was coming across it came out of a place of fear.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do we just get people to talk from a place of love? And the big thing that popped in my head when I knew I was talking to you is maybe that's in the arts. Because when you were dancing for your mum or doing a performance, there was no language. She just knew. How do we scale that for all of our people?
That's true. I mean, tools, I would say this is just outside of the arts. I think language is a big thing. I've learned that rather than, you know, reaching out and being like, you know, if you need any help, just let me know. Even that itself is a barrier, because I know from perhaps the other person is too mild or too embarrassed to reach out. So it's what I've learned is just asking, like, is your cup full? And then if someone says, no, not really, I'm just like, okay, cool, where are you? I'll come pick you up. It's using a different sort of language rather than asking, like, I'm here, but I'm going to use different words to show that I'm here. Within the arts, tools would be having spaces that allow me to be comfortable, being surrounded by others who understand and relate to me. You know, during my studies, I was the only brown person in my class, and that in itself was really hard, because I felt no one could understand what I was trying to do and be as a person. And then I met other brown dancers who were first years. This is when I was doing my master's, and we just clinged together and we created a space that was good for us, and we were able to support each other throughout our studies. So yeah, for me, it's finding other people that are outside of my family and making friends.
And when you were in that class you talked about and you realized no one else was kind of, you know, was like you, what were those things? Did you have to like kind of put up a wall? Did you find yourself having added pressure? Because I think it's worth talking about that stuff as these little things that chip away at you.
Yeah.
You know, like people might not even think there was a thing, but yeah, can you remember some of the feelings?
Yeah, I felt there was a lot of pressure for myself because I was the only Pasifika person in my class. I felt that there was this pressure of me having to create a whole thesis around, you know, Pacific values and concepts that no one hasn't done in the dance sector. So even that was a lot of pressure. And coming from MIT to University of Auckland, like that's a huge transition. So not being able to do writing as well as my other classmates who had been at Auckland Uni for 3 years before I came. So there were many obstacles and it was tough. Like there were times where I just wanted to give up, like in all honesty, but this was the time when I reached out to other artists in the industry, so more established people such as Rosanna Raymond, who was an incredible visual artist, part of the Pacific Sisters, and my brother Raymond Sagapolutele, who is an artist, a photographer, and you know, just all these other amazing people that have been through it. They were the ones that mentored me. So it's, for me, was able to create a village for myself and support me even though they weren't with me in the classroom.
Was it instinctual that you did that? Did someone tell you that was a thing to do?
No,
but
that was.
Would you highly recommend that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I know that there's many people out there that won't be able to. Like, just I feel that I'm not a shy person, so I can easily go up to someone. Someone else may not have that. So I really feel that what I would love to see is people creating spaces for those that aren't able to. An example is I, alongside Jeffrey Matautia, who's a photographer, and Bryson Knight, who's a visual artist. We have a community called Period 7, and that community is solely created to create opportunities for young Pasifika artists, from South Auckland and around Auckland. And it's really, we create opportunities for them, but it's really just to create a space that they can feel comfortable. They come in and they can just chill, or we can help them with their homework, or they can learn screen printing or things like this. So, and we're doing this, this is self-funded. So imagine if there were funding programs that were like, oh, look, there's these young people that are doing it. Let's support. So I'd love to see more of people supporting those people that are already doing the work.
People who control that funding probably have created safe spaces for themselves to what? Take the mask off, take the hat off, be. And from what I'm picking up, there's a lot of pressure. And if you can't find places to take that pressure off, it'll stay with you. Tia, I read when researching you a little bit that you were really close to your mum and you lost her. You mentioned the word you felt lost. What did you mean by feeling lost from your perspective?
Yeah, well, with my journey with my mother, we were very close. And at the time before she had passed, I felt that I was at my prime in dancing. So I was in the royal family at that time. So to me, I was quite successful in the dance industry at that point. And so I was at a high, came back from Las Vegas, just did Worlds. And a few months later, she had passed away. And so I went from, this amazing time of my life to the lowest point in my life. And it was so hard for me to transition from being us two to essentially being on my own, because my brothers, they have their wives and their children. And at that point, I just was quite confused in, what I wanted to do, who I was. And so I was in my second year studying at MIT, and I ended up dropping out because it just got too much. And, it took some time for me to decide to go back into dancing. For me, I made the decision with the help and support of my brothers and my family. It was me wanting to connect with my mum again, just in a different way. Yeah. So I went back to MIT, even though I felt, a little bit embarrassed that I'm coming back, but I just pushed those feelings aside and was like, look, I want to do this for mum. So thankfully I graduated, and when I went to go do my master's, all my research was actually based around her, exploring the concepts of, loss and identity, which I know is big for our young people, the Pasifika community, and my culture. Yeah, I was doing street dance for a long time, and then I moved to learning Siva Samoa, and that was me connecting with her. So my journey of learning Siva Samoa and researching helped me find myself again.
When you're lost, it's like, how can you find your way back?
Yeah, exactly.
And you use that idea of, reconnecting with your mum to guide you.
I was at a point where I felt like I couldn't move forward. I felt like maybe I don't want to do dancing because that hurt, because that reminded me of her. So, yeah, I guess flipping the idea of I'm going to use this grief and hurt inside and turn it into something else. And now I, have my own collective and been performing overseas, and I've had all these amazing opportunities, and that really stemmed from my love for my mum.
The islands had their own ecosystems, their own ethics, their own experts in fields, and now we're working in this environment where a doctor can only see you for 15 minutes and you don't have to introduce yourself and work out the family connection. They just want to know facts and data.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot going on, and I can see how an identity can turn into a crisis, you know. So, yeah, what's some of the work you did around identity?
Still, it's an ongoing journey. Like, I didn't finish my master's and was like, I've got it together. I know exactly what identity is and I've got it all sorted. No, that wasn't the case. But what I learned was noticing the differences between island-born Samoans and, you know, us as part of the diaspora, and learning that they're different, but they still come from the same place. You know, we're all Samoan. And, I've just learned that I have my own journey, and we're all at a different pace in life. And what I've learned is being surrounded by elders who are teaching me those traditional values that I never learned growing up.
Why is it worth trying to reconnect with elders? You know, because I guess there's many of us who think, oh, you know, that's old school stuff.
Yeah.
I just need to get on and, you know, get TikTok famous or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I get a sense that for you to go forward, you have to understand where you come from too.
Exactly. Well, you know, learning our roots is very important. I think trying not to lose our culture, because, you know, if you think about it, if none of us young people learned about our mother tongue and our elders pass away, our culture's lost. So it's understanding the values that are very important to our cultures as Pasifika people. They keep us grounded and they help us move forward to be, you know, successful, be happy. Identity and learning about our cultures, it needs to be rooted in us in order to flourish. That's just my take on it anyway. And I'm not fluent in Samoan, but I'm open to learning. And, you know, my auntie, she talks to me in Samoan only. I told her, I want to learn Samoan. Can you just talk to me in Sa and I will learn that way? And that's what she does, and that's what helps me. You know, as a creative artist, my arts practice is interweaving Siva Samoa, contemporary dance, street dance. If I don't learn about Siva Samoa, then I'm essentially being fraudulent and making this movement that's not learning from the traditional Siva Samoa. But as an Aotearoa-Samoan, because I'm brought up in the Western world, I have that contemporary, and so that's interweaving contemporary and Siva makes me authentic to me. So yeah, learning about my roots and my culture has helped me with how I've been brought up, and bringing the two worlds together. That's me. Yeah.
Do you also think that those two worlds help keep you on the right path?
I think so.
Because they kind of have to wrestle with each other, eh? What's too much from the old school way versus the new?
I feel that with my experiences would be my older brothers having different ideas to mine, and I can see that could be like a tension in there, like having different perspectives on things.
Before you mentioned that, you know, when you were thinking about coming back to MIT, you were formulating that pathway in your mind, and then you said it clicked, where you kind of used your grief. Was that something that, if you think back, happened really instantly? Did you think about that? I'm just wondering, how did you get to that space? Can you kind of remember that?
I felt that at that time I distanced myself from everyone, and I felt that was a coping mechanism for myself, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. What helped me, honestly, was my best friends reaching out to me, and pushing away my pride. You know, I'm used to being the strong person in front of people and looking after everyone else, to a point where my cup will be empty. And as long as everyone's cups are full, you know, that makes me happy. But deep down, I'm not happy, you know. So being in that vulnerable stage in my life was really hard, and having, you know, people who love and support me, I guess tables were turned, and they came to me and were like, you know, they weren't saying as much, but they were there for me. And that kind of created a little pathway for me to move out of this space that I was in, this dark space. So, yeah, again, I mentioned I was surrounded by people who really loved me, and I focused a lot on my relationship with my mum during that time, and I didn't cry as much as I did in the beginning because I had the strong facade. But once I brought those walls down, I just opened up and let it all out. And once I passed that, I was able to think, okay, what do I want to do? And I know that I thought about my mum and what she would have thought. And she would have been like, get up and go dance now, you know? So, yeah, I guess for me it was taking time away from that. And, you know, honestly, some people didn't agree with the way I grieved. But it was my own journey, so I had to do what was best for me. And so I was able to come out of that with the support of my family and friends, yeah.
What would she say today about, she'd be proud of you for?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she would be proud. I feel like I've gone through a lot in my life for someone who's 28, you know, like I've done quite a bit, you know. I'm not just an artist, like I produce for other people. I'm in governance on a couple of boards, and, you know, with Period 7, you know, I feel that I've been constantly trying to use my platform for different things, and really that's a product of, you know, my parents, because I saw them give back to so many people and be selfless, and, you know, seeing my older brothers do the same thing. So yeah, I really think she would be proud, and I'm proud of myself too. And just saying that is huge for myself, because a year ago I wouldn't say that. You know, in Kiwi culture it's like, be humble, but I've learned that, you know, saying I'm proud of myself, that can still be humble. Yeah, I've learned a lot, and I'm sure she's proud.
Yeah, absolutely. Mum was here. Should be proud that, you know, you're continuing to try and communicate through the work you do. I guess one of those areas is Taumafa Talks.
Mm-hmm. Taumafa Talks.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about the kaupapa behind that?
Yeah, well, the idea stemmed from being in lockdown. You know, we were all in lockdown and, you know, had so much time what to do. And yeah, I really wanted to create a platform where I could chat with my friends. You know, being an artist, I'm connected with so many people in different art forms. So yeah, Taumafa Talks was created just as a casual thing where, you know, eating, because that's big in our culture. That's how we connect. It's like, yeah, let's go grab some food, or, you know, when we have to'ona'is. And so, yeah, I used the idea of providing the food and providing a safe space for my friends. And really, we just chatted about our experiences in lockdown, you know, our well-being and mental health, and our journeys. And yeah, it was really awesome to hear different journeys and perspectives. It was really awesome. Like, I had different people in the talks. It was really great.
Awesome. And is that something that continues, or was it just a way to deal with a certain time in you know, this COVID history that we have?
Well, I had the first season before pre-lockdown, and it was just 3 episodes, but I really enjoyed it. And I was thinking, I want to do it again. And then during lockdown, I felt that, okay, I'll bring it back. But it really helped with me coping lockdown. Yep. Being able to create, because, you know, as a dancer, we're usually on stage, you know, performing for others. Obviously, we couldn't do that during lockdown. So having Taumafa Talks was a way for me to create, it's just in a different way, and connecting with people really helped.
If there's young people watching who are like, oh, talking, I'm cool. I got my phone. I can check out.
I think talking definitely helps, and I found that for myself, talking it out and sharing how I feel with those who have the capacity to take that on has been really helpful. What I've learned is asking if someone has the capacity to listen, because, we all go through, different things. So I've learned that as well. Also, if I'm unable to articulate how I feel, is using different art forms. So I know a lot of young artists in Period 7, they use visual art as a way to cope with how they feel, designing, and then they're connecting with other young people and communicating through that. And then they're able to learn different things about each other, skills. So, yeah, I feel like talking is definitely a big thing, like a big tool that's helpful. But what I've learned as well is there's other tools that also help and maybe in the same way, yeah. My oldest brother, Raymond, he's part of a collective called Mana Rewa, and they're based at Nathan Homestead in Manirewa. And that program really was teaching young people how to use cameras. And I saw how much of a difference it was from the kids that started to all of them at the end expressing how they felt using a camera and photographing things that they loved, and that process of connecting with other children and, learning from someone like Raymond, who I feel we need more people that are nurturing and actually really want to help and, care for others, rather than I'm just going to take this paycheck and do my job and then go. Like, it doesn't end in the classroom. It continues outside of that as well. So seeing programs like that where we talk about not using our voices, but it's using our actions and, moving and doing things together, creating that contributes to mental health and well-being.
Yeah, maybe it's less stop asking me how I'm doing and provide me a space that I can show you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's cross our fingers, and actually let's do more than that. Let's lobby for our own solutions.
I've learned that it takes a village to be able to do things. I can't do everything on my own. As much as I want to change all these things and make all these amazing things happen, it really takes a village to be able to create change and create amazing things that will benefit our young people. So I imagine my village with me, helping me, block that hole and build it up again so that we can move forward.
Where can people follow you if they want to just follow your journey, learn a bit more about you, or if you're a big funder and you want to support?
Oh, yes. www.tiasagapolutele.com, and that has all my works on there. But you can just find me in the community as well, doing different things. But everything is on that website.
Awesome. Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
If you think you or someone you know may be at immediate risk, call 111 or connect to the following services to get help. Text the Need to Talk Helpline on 1737. Call the Depression Helpline on 0800 111 757 or text 4202. If you would like more information on suicide prevention training and education, visit LEVAR on www.leva.co.nz. More support numbers are available in the show's description.